conversation with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to turn to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else choose you instead. I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. Everything was green light, now we got the red. Could've had somebody else chose you instead.
And it's about that time where we get into another edition of the topics here on Real Entertainment Network. Want to say good evening, Oli. Want to say good evening, Layamiga. Want to say good evening to the rest of the entire Eastern Caribbean. Also want to say good evening, good morning, or good night, or good day, depending on where you may be around the world, as we have listeners all over the world. Whether you're in Russia, you're in Afghanistan, you're in the Philippines, you're in Africa. It's a pleasure to have you locked in here with us on Real Entertainment Network. We want to encourage you to go on over to the YouTube platform and subscribe, like, and click on the notification bell so that you are notified every time we are live here with you. Our program is aired simultaneously on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch TV. So you are able to listen to us live on any of the three forums. However, we are seeking to encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube platform. It doesn't cost you anything. But, as you subscribe, it gives and adds support to the network, and we do appreciate your support. As usual, we want to say good evening also to our usual listeners on a weekly basis, those of you who whether call in or put your messages on the platform. We want to make sure that you understand that we totally appreciate your participation. As without you, we wouldn't be doing the show. We would just be doing it by ourselves. So we can't do it without you. This evening, we have with us my special, our special guest, and also my usual co-host, Shabazz Bankie King, and our special guest for this evening, Mr. Glendale Herbert. And we are looking forward to a very engaging discussion and educational, informative, and entertaining at the same time. So, with that, I'm going to allow my co host to give his introductory remarks, and then we would give you an opportunity, Mr. Herbert, to introduce yourself and to give the listening public a little bit of, backdrop about you. And then, we can get into some of the other things we would want to discuss this evening. So, Bankie, greetings.
Yahsonn, greetings and greetings to our guest Glenn. Also greetings to our listening and viewing audience. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning in on another Tuesday evening on the topics. You could have chosen any other media house to listen to, but you choose to tune into us, which means what we are doing something right, and we really appreciate that. Also, remember to, as Yahsonn said, subscribe and let everyone know the topics is on, and we have a very special guest, which I think is appropriate for this evening. I mean, at least we're on this time of giving, where sometimes we have to take back something. So I like that. We have to, so I like the guests, because we have to take back something for the people in this time of giving. Because right now they might take, so we have to take back. So our guests will get into the topic why that is, why I mentioned something like that. But yes, so I'm definitely looking forward for this discussion, because we're in the festive season. We have to remember, St. Kitts next door having carnival. So even where people psychologically is in a different mindset, St. Kitts still having something going on down there. Is just sometime this week, a young lady over the weekend won a teenage show, and her mom passed away within the following day, something like that. So that is something sad going on. So a lot of, even though Nevis is going through a lot of distraction, there's party going on in St. Kitts, so all the planes are really coming in full to St. Kitts. So it's the festive season and it's the Christmas season at the same time. So here and the topics, the shows, them never stop, because we don't take breaks. It's very important that we don't take breaks because with the CNN and Fox and all the other media houses, they don't take a break because once things are affecting the people, you got to keep bringing people every day on all the time and keep repeating. So some other media houses and talk shows take hosts, but Real Entertainment Network and the Topics and the Everything Agriculture show. Once we're doing a part of a show, I'll be making once I'm available. I'll do the show. And yes, and we'll do the same. It's very important. So just let me say thanks for the viewing audience for tuning in again, and definitely looking forward for the reason, Yahsonn. Glenn, welcome again to
Yes,
Real
well,
Entertainment Network and the Topics.
indeed a pleasure to be with you. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Yes.
Before you do introduce yourself, Glenn.
It's indeed a pleasure.
Now, I say before you introduce yourself, Bankie mentioned on St. Kitts that it's the festive season, and a lot of you have carnival and all that, but at the same time, it's also budget season, and I think with what is going on, that is something that we need to encourage the electorate and our people, and especially the natives, to pay attention to the budget, and you know, I think we should, as a people, especially with some of the issues that we are faced with, and the realities that we are faced with. I'm hopeful that it is like a catalyst for especially the young electorate to begin to take, their politics and their governments and the people elected to represent them a bit more seriously and hold them accountable, do what they are supposed to do, so that we can have that change in psychology. Instead of them having that feeling that they're the boss, we the people need to be able to unite and put, in a lot of cases, the partisan or the petty partisan politics aside, and come together on issues to demonstrate that we are truly the government, and these people who we elect are just being paid because they are our highest paid servants. I think with that, I would give you, Glenn, sorry, the opportunity now to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you. This platform might not necessarily know much about you, and we are widely listened to around the world. So I'm sure those who are listening would love to get a little synopsis, and then we can get into some of the discussions that we plan to. So, good evening. Welcome to Real Entertainment Network.
Good evening, gentlemen. Tafari, good evening, Bankie. It's a pleasure to be with you guys. As you know, but the world may not know. So let me just say I was born and raised here in Nevis. I went to Charleston Secondary School, boys' school, formerly Teacher Diner School. We go all the way back. And then on to boys' school, and then on to CSS. Where, of course, throughout your life, you play sports, you get into entertainment and all that sort of thing coming through the years. So I always was a person who was involved socially. And that sort of, not only that, but also my interest was always grounded in matters of civil rights, love Malcolm X, followed him closely, followed Dr. King closely, and the movement in the United States, because my first foray into the United States, it was at the age of 4. I went to the United States at a very early age, spent a long time there, came back and went to school here. And then, of course, throughout the years, always visiting and vacations and all that sort of thing. I grew up in Charlestown, Main Street, Charlestown, so born and raised, so to speak, family. And so, I've often said when I research our roots and the depth of our roots here on this land, we go back over 250 years, my family does in Nevis. That's the Herberts. We come out of what's the greater part of Brown Hill. The greater Brown Hill would be Montpelier and all the way to the coast, which is like Pembroke Estate and all the entire estate they're talking about, the whole enclave they're talking about. So that entire estate was owned by a man called John Robinson Herbert. He happened to be the first leader of Nevis in 1755, thereabout. He he became the first leader of Nevis. He was from England, the Earl of Pembroke, and he owned Montpelier. He was the uncle to Fanny Nisbet. And my great-grandfather and grandfather were slaves. Not grandfather, but great-grandfather was a slave, there. And, of course, that's where the Herbert name came from. So my grandfather, who died in 1934, which is my mother, father, and my aunts and everybody else, he died in 1934, John Alexander Herbert. Successfully, we came out of that estate, and my family acquired the estate of Pembroke. And up to this day, it's still held in my family. So Pembroke estate belongs to us in the zone. It's not even a square inch would be sold of it. So as I move forward, like I said, my mother, we all grew up here and we are deep rooted here. And it means a lot to me to see what's going to happen, what will happen for the future and what's going to happen to them young kids and who would not have an opportunity such as I have. We say Nevis Nice. I grew up with Nevis Nice. I continue to enjoy Nevis Nice. Bankie, and so do you, Tafari, enjoy Nevis Nice. And I just don't see that continuing with the event of a destiny on our shores with 10, 15 plus thousand, folks who don't share a culture, a heritage, and have the right to create a sovereignty of their own, a governing structure of their own, and have their own lives, and they can create it actually being a different type of citizen from what we are, because they have different rights and different, their own governing structure. I think the culture of Nevis changes automatically. Their numbers would rival the population numbers on Nevis, which is 13,000, 14,000 quickly. Their wealth would supplant us. Their wealth, would supplant us to a point of where we become non-existent in our own land. We've seen many instances in our history where occupiers become the dominant force in a country. We can see it from Palestine, 1948. And when we see what has happened recently with the Palestinians, all the way I've had the opportunity to go to Israel, and I've seen it close up. In Bethlehem in Palestine, it's only 6 miles away from Jerusalem, Bethlehem to Jerusalem. I've seen this up close. I've seen the marginalized and the constant occupation and encroachment and constant, settlements. And I refer to this as a home settlement zone. It is not an enterprise zone. An enterprise zone is much different and sustainable zone. You can have an enterprise zone where you have a zone where you have, let's say, for example, a zone, a technology zone, enterprise zone. Or you can have a zone that's specific with, let's say, you have geothermal, so you can have a technology zone, and what goes on there is those specific things, and you give special accommodations and special, government issues special rights to them. But this is an occupational zone, meaning a homestead zone or something like in the realm of a home settlement zone. So I refer to the one that in Palestine, I could go to South Africa, and marginalizing the people. So that is critical to me, that we can preserve what Nevis has been, and the politicians, they must have foresight. I think in an early conversation, we were talking about the negotiators on our behalf. And I just don't think they're adequate people to negotiate at this level. You're dealing with billionaires, and they have so many things in their back pockets in terms of tools when they come to you. For example, guys, if I came to any one of you, you had a car that you've had for 20 years, a vehicle. And you say, I come to you and say, and I'll give you 10,000 for that vehicle. And I scratched up, the paint is dried out, and all that thing. But I see $100,000 in the vehicle, $150,000 in the vehicle, but you can't see. I'm not going to tell you what I see. So I come to you, you'd be glad to take the $10,000, And I go, I clean up the car, fix it up, and max it out, put another $20,000 in it, or whatever, $25,000 in it. I spend $30,000 total. And then I sell it on the market, let's say in the vintage market, for $150,000. I'm just giving an example. I've made a profit $100,000+. But I didn't tell you what I'm going to do. And I didn't tell you what I can do with the value of what you have. You have no idea of your value, meaning the negotiator. Unless you've been in this space and you've been working this negotiator in a high finance space, you can't negotiate these things. You're not in a position to protect your people. But the egos of man allow man to always create folly for themselves. And so, I lived in, I want to transition back slightly. So I lived in the United States. I left here and went to school in the States, and where I studied biochemistry, undergrad, and biochemistry, and had all intentions to become a doctor. Just because you didn't know anything. It's like we growing up, all you know is how to become a doctor or a lawyer. And that's the profession, because you don't know you can do things that you can make much more money than any doctor. A lawyer, you understand? And so many vast fields in the world, because you're not exposed like that. You got to the States and then you realize, okay, fine, you like medicine, but then there's so many things that pique your interest that you can get into that creates value, and then you can do things that, you can contribute more. And also lend towards you developing your social conscience, meaning in terms of give back. And so, after doing that, and while I was in school, I got involved in politics. And I got excited by national politics, student politics, and all that sort of thing, and ran for student politics and that sort of thing. And then, I got involved with national politics, get to understand how the politics really work at a granular level. I got involved with the Gary Hart campaign as a surrogate in New York, where I would give, a lot of speeches on his behalf, with the other candidates when he ran for president. And then, with that, I worked in a number of companies, big companies, in terms of big 8, Deloitte and Touche and those companies. In what do you call that thing again? When you intern with them. And I did all that. And then I got into business. I was in the pharmaceutical wholesaling business and created my own stuff. I sold topicals and ethical drugs and that sort of thing. And got into business where we started trading throughout the region, the Caribbean region, wholesaling drugs, pharmaceuticals throughout the region, from Trinidad all the way up and to the biggest houses. And I owned a pharmacy here for some years, but of course, detachment and all that, and being there and here, and I decided to close and then switch careers again, because I believe life is an experience and a journey, and you ought to experience the most in life. I became a broker. I held through 3 licenses: an insurance broker, mortgage broker, and real estate broker. At the same time, held it through. So I was able to cross-sell products, financial products, easy, and I did that for many, many years as a broker, still hold broker's license. And then ultimately I decided to be back here. I said, let me just come back home. I've learned so much. I know how things work. I know how things are interconnected from a business level and from a political level, and how both spectrums interlock. Yeah, you understand where the synergy is, and figure out, see how whatever I can do to give back in my country. And that's a sweet spot for me, because I use the term already, having a social conscience. And remember my frame, my sort of backdrop in terms of what framed me is the folks like Malcolm X and King in terms of struggle. So once here I created what's called the Nevis Community Foundation. And that was created in 2018 through a friend of mine from Britain who has a home, had actually a home in Montpellier Estate. And he had run one of the largest foundations in England. And he said to me one day, and his wife was very good too, Peter Fletcher. And he came to me one day and he said, Nevis needs a foundation. So what do you mean, Peter? I have no idea what foundations are. 2018. Because I'm back and forth from the States. I said, yeah, he needs a foundation. And I said, well, you'd have to help him set it up and work with me. And he showed me what a foundation can do. And he set it up with me. We had 21 beneficiaries in the foundation. It's not an ordinary foundation. It's almost like a government. We set it up inside the government. And what it can do, it has beneficiaries. If there's a hurricane tomorrow, we can connect people to electricity. We can connect your water, your roof. We can put student programs, tutorial programs. All these beneficiaries in the foundation was listed in when we did it. And he guided me through it, and he hooked me up with what's called CAF, Charity Aid Foundation, which governs 17,000 foundation around the globe. They're the ones, if you want to give, let's say there is a catastrophe in Nevis, and you want to give money, and you live in Louisiana, or you live somewhere in Switzerland, and you hear about the catastrophe, you want to give, you don't give to government. Private people don't give monies to government. They pass through monies to CAF, and CAF investigates the foundation legitimacy and they're like a holding house, and they pass the money through. So, like for example, in Haiti with the Clinton Foundation, when they had the issues in Haiti, hurricane it was or whatever it was in Haiti, the Clinton Foundation, Global Foundation, is able to do pass throughs like that. So that's what we're able to do. We're able to set up that foundation. It's registered. It's regulated. It reports every year, to the government here. And it's standing. We raised a lot of money in that foundation. We did the street signs in Nevis. We did the clinics. We did the hearing clinic, ear, nose, and throat hearing clinic about a year and a half ago, where we saw 120 people in one day. But we brought in all the physicians, specialist physicians, to do that. This kind of things we do. And, it can be mobilized at any point once you're registered on that platform globally. Anyway, so we're here where we are now. And like I say, you mentioned the budget earlier, that we are in that space right now. And I always tell people a budget it shows the intent, your intent. It shows where you are and where your spirit is. So wherever you put your emphasis in your budget, it shows what's important to you as a government, or whom, even in your house. Yeah, you understand? It really shows your moral turpitude and where you're heading. Oh, I forgot to say I did my master's level work in budget and fiscal policy. Sorry, I forgot that. So that's why I am so versed in that. Thank you.
Quite interesting, and I guess thus with that sort of background and experience, I guess that is why seemingly you happen to be one of those passionate voices out there in terms of some of the issues that are being in the forefront right now. You would have spoken to that organization that you would have started, and you said that it is still active presently. Okay, well, we would have on the island of Nevis experienced session last evening. I don't know if it's dubbed a town hall, or if it is considered just a meeting, but it was organized by seemingly another group, or is it an arm or an extension of that group that you mentioned? And at the same time, I get to give name of that organization or that group for those who may not be familiar with it.
All right, the genesis of that organization came through after this whole SSC became really hot. I recognized one thing. I recognized that each NGO was speaking in a voice, but a singular voice, and being drowned out. Even when they say they don't want, they wrote a letter and they say repeal. Let's say the Bar Association, I just use an example, the Bar Association or the Christian Council wrote and the Evangelical wrote, and their position as to repeal or we don't want destiny. It's been drowned out because I recognize the civil society was speaking in different voices and being drowned out. And I said, listen, I know the history, like I tell you, of civil rights. And I said to myself, listen, they need to be speaking in one voice, but we just don't know these kind of things around here because we don't do it. And we've never practiced this sort of thing. I said, the country is made up of three parts. And Peter Fletcher always said to me this, the same guy who helped me with the foundation. He said, the country is made up with government, it's made up with the business community, and it's made up with civil society. But the power of civil society never spoke out or never came through because everybody has their different little corners and speaking their little. But the government speaking one voice, you know what I mean? And get the authority out. All right, fine. So I said, well, I started called a meeting, and I suppose, first of all, we started polling people from all of these groups, the leaders. Quietly polling in conversation and saying, listen, guys, you guys need to be speaking in one voice. Can we meet? convene. And they all said yes to a man because the frustration began to set in. And we decided to call our first meeting at the credit union conference room. I can be fully disclosed about this now. About maybe 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks. Proud of all, including historical society, all the executives, meaning the leaders of these organizations. And we said, wow, it was amazing to me that everybody had that level of interest. And we called the meeting together and we said, listen, our objective now is to get ourselves speaking in a unified voice, just like government speaking in a unified voice. Because I always knew anything that moves the needle in any country in terms of changing the direction of the country is always come from civil society. It never comes from government. It doesn't come from the business community, which is only when civil society stand, the business community coalesce with. It never coalesce with government because that's where the people are. That's where the masses is. All the NGOs are. And so I said, guys, we need to be unified and speak in one voice and begin to speak in one voice instead of putting letters out here and you're not getting a response. And then we started to speak and it created some interest. And then we met every week after that. After the first meeting, I'll tell you the truth. Our first meeting was a Wednesday. And we said we need to schedule the next meeting for the following Wednesday. He said, no. Everybody to a man stood up and said, no. We need to meet Monday. Right? So we had to book the conference room again to meet the following Monday. You understand? We need to meet Monday, not the next Wednesday. That's the fact. Because everybody's feeling the crunch now that government is moving through. They're going to sign this big deal and all that stuff. People are going to be shut out. So we met Monday and then we had to meet again, back to back. So there was meeting after meeting with it, talking about the heads of evangelical, heads of the heads and former heads of the Bar Association, current head and former heads, every one of these groups, historical society, tourism board, everybody, And we met and we created consensus. We worked through and created our consensus on all the issues. So once we gained consensus, we knew we had unification on the issues. You understand? And at that point, we began to plan the way forward. We got a letter going to say repeal to the government, to the Prime Minister and the Premier. So we wrote a unified letter to the Prime Minister and Premier asking for repeal of SSC. And in addition to the unified letter, we asked for an end to the notion of destiny. We rejected. And the grounds, and we listed the grounds that historical had put in. We listed the grounds that the bar had put in. We listed the grounds that chamber put in. We listed all the concerns. And we sent a letter to both. They were delivered by bailiff. Those letters were delivered by the bailiff in St. Kitts and Nevis. And that this is now civil society unifying and taking a position in its rightful position in the country. Knowing that we, if you understand, they have the congregation, the churches, and we have all the pastors with us. So we knew, we sent a message at that point. And then we decided to do a town hall, mimicking the exact town hall government chose to do, because we're the players. We put men in power for 4 or 5 years. But we civil society could take them out at any point, meaning in the electoral side process as well, and the funding process from the business community. So once you're organized at that level, and even the Buckley's Riot, civil society, the unions in 1932 or 1920, whenever that was, unions and the churches and everybody coalesce. So you see what I'm saying, the end of slavery, the civil rights in the 60s, that's what it takes. So once we've gotten together and we have our own chat, we have our own group chat, which is populated maybe for 35, 40 leaders, the president, the vice president, and everybody. And we speak every day. And we've been doing this for a while. So we organized the town hall last night to mimic the government. Same place, we intentionally did this. Same place to send a message. The same place, the same optics, the same technology they use, the same all the cameras that, of course, they got the government cameras and the government, all that sort of thing. The operation. We brought in our operation to do the same. And we brought in the crowd. And we opened up the hall, not cut it down in half, which they did in terms of the presentation. And the numbers went to the roof yesterday. And it was a great success. The numbers went to on YouTube. We had over 3,000 something from what I gather, from what I hear, and just on YouTube and the other platforms and whatever, and radios and all this, everything else. And from what I hear, even after the meeting, there were persons saying we should have gone on longer, but that's okay. We had 3 hours was enough. more than enough for this. So this is where we are. The court, well, we can talk about a lot of other things, court case and all that sort of things. I'll let you speak.
Okay. It was quite interesting. I was able to get there last night. I was not there for all of it. But from what I got when I was there, I find that you would have had a wide cross section of presenters who I guess touched on a number of different aspects and areas, which kind of, for me, um, caused me to look at certain perspectives that I never really looked at, or at least, taken it into that level of seriousness, or, just, okay, I never thought of it that way, but okay, it makes sense. And this bit of information is helpful. So I found that was pretty good. And I found that even the persons who had their questions and or comments in the latter segment were very passionate, and you had people from a wide cross section, even pastors and so on, who had the issues and were able to feel that level of confidence to speak out and let the public know exactly what their thoughts are and so on. So with that, I understand also that the group, if it's not this group, but have also found it to coordinate with some lawyers who are planning to take this up, and not just from a protest standpoint and town hall meeting standpoint, but now literally seeking to go to the place where if there is going to be any justice, if there is going to be any repeal, if there is going to be any serious actions taken in regards to the issue and the pushback that is being presented from the public, and obviously from your group. Is a wide cross section of people you have in your group, as you just highlighted, the evangelical association, business people, the whole works. We understand that a group of lawyers amongst that is looking to take that to the court. Is there any truth in that? And is it true that that is supposed to happen tomorrow as we speak?
All right. As it pertains to the legal matter, a group of lawyers from, again, our civil society. Well, we are the initiators of it, because there are certain persons in our group who are well placed, and we recognize that a court action will be necessary in order to avert this becoming a reality. And we sought help. We began in our meetings. That's why our meetings were so crucial. And they were pressing for more meetings to how to get to this stage. A funding committee was set up, 1, 2, 3, where funds are placed. There's a specific group that's raising money here and internationally. They were set up. Then is who to we were at a place then who would fight the case, which attorneys we will get. We need prominent attorneys. We need a Privy Council attorney in London, stationed in London. That was sourced right away, pretty much right away. And the commitment was made to fund that. So that was taken care of, right? Immediately. That was the key. Well, because if a case is tried at the lower courts here, and we lose, it appeals to the higher court in the Caribbean. And then they lose, it'll appeal to the Privy. We expect that. These are things we expect. So we put in all these contingencies in planning out this sort of thing. So we had the Privy Council attorney in maybe 2 weeks ago, flew in. He came in around 2 weeks ago. He is in and out of the Privy. and he was recommended, and that part, like I said, was taken care from the funding standpoint. The other attorneys are local. There are two local attorneys, and in the team, and there is a regional attorney a well-known regional attorney. All of these attorneys, the regional, and were recommended to us by an esteemed person in the law, very esteemed person in the law, and he was recommended. There were two attorneys recommended, and the one we settled on is the one we, persons around would have heard of a lot from time to time in the region. He was happy to take the case as well, and they met last Friday, team, and in terms of perusing their direction as to how they're going to do it. So they're the ones in charge of that, and it's their schedules as it relates to the timing and the development of the case, how they're going to put the case forward and lay it out. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't get that's not my part. There are people, like I said, there are people who I just guide. I pretty much try and hold things together, people, as much as I can.
So there is no confirmation or truth in the fact that they will be put forward to the court tomorrow.
No, that's not fully confirmed yet, because again, they met last Friday and they began to draft, whatever they're doing, their direction as to where they're going, and have their strategy sessions, and that continues on. I was not in that. Again, what affiliates of mine who were there reported that.
Okay.
As it was a part of civil society.
Okay. It's interesting. What are your thoughts?
Lastly, but something it's organized and it's ready. They're ready in terms of their organized group of attorneys, of 4 attorneys, and they were handpicked. Of course, let me just say, by the regional attorney indicated who they're comfortable with and who we were comfortable with.
Okay.
Well, they had more to say. We're not lawyers.
Fair enough.
But they've worked together. Yeah.
Fair enough. Your thoughts on the fact that this is such a major issue, major topic, and we are seeing so much pushback from not just people like you who are, well-known and prominent, individuals in society, but you hear from QCs, you hear from other top lawyers, not just people on Nevis, but you hear also from, top people on St. Kitts as well, who's pushing back on this. And seemingly, I guess this is part of why I guess it is sort of imperative for groups like you and others to be able to act with a sense of urgency in these times, because you're not hearing, amidst all this, you're not hearing any consideration from whether it's the Premier or the Prime Minister in terms of saying, well, okay, the majority, let me not use majority, but a good number of the people in the population is pushing back. And it's not just people, but also respectable organizations who have a lot of queries and questions and so on. But there is no seemingly interest to repeal or to do anything to demonstrate that we are not necessarily going to be moving forward with this thing. So, how do you feel, in terms of being in a position like this? And we would have heard in recent times when we interviewed Olivier Jensen here, he said that he wants this to be dealt with before the end of the year. And then the day after, he was here on the platform with us. The Premier had his press conference where he said also that he's minded to deal with this before the year ends. So that puts us in a position where, even though this is what we're seeing, and I'm using those examples to show, to concretize my point that seemingly there is no push to say, well, let's listen to the people. Let's have a really, because all these people are pushing back. Christian Council, Evangelical Association, top lawyers, the QC, even the QC, who is the father of the Attorney General, would have come out and made his positions clear. What are your thoughts in terms of being in that sort of position?
Well, I think I stated how the urgency inside the organization, the Nevis Civil Society Coalition, how the level of urgency that's in it in terms of meeting to get this done. Because I recognize that the attitude that the leaders, as the premier in particular, has been having or hosted as it relates to all the outreach that has been made by all these different groups. And we recognize it's a serious matter. And for us to arrest the matter, put us squarely up against the government. Squarely. There's no two ways about it. And we, with that, we got, that is why it was a mad rush for us to get counsel. And we got, like I said, we got counsel and who is the right attorneys for this in terms of Kessie, who is the right Kessie to fight this matter. And the counsel who gave us, we're talking about people of great standing in the legal profession. People who serve at the highest level in the world. Some of these people, we're talking to. And because you must recognize that within our group, we have people who are well connected. And, they're able to point us. But to get to your question, how do we feel if the premier signed? And I know the premier is under a lot of pressure. He's under the pressure from the prospective developer. I see the yachts out here since last week. It's been, I saw it this morning again, outside of Four Seasons. Then he has the pressure of the country, and like I said, civil society, which controls the tax base of the country, and the spending base of the country, and which control the congregations of this country. And with civil society activated and civil society frontal directly, he has something to account for. Because you have to speak to civil society. You can't disrespect civil society. You can't disrespect the pastors. You can't disrespect them. He would have to account. So I understand the duress he's on, but he has to make that decision. Whatever it is, he's created it without consult. And I have often said that, when you're in that position, you don't know everything. You ought to consult. And people have much more wisdom. And it's good. It's good to get not to get too attached to your own hubris, meaning your own sense of self-import. And it is wise to consult. Particularly, you just don't get giddy in the head because a man offers you something. You have an awesome responsibility. And somebody said to me, well, what is to me? He has to ask himself, what is the value of this? And where does it end? I've said to it, it's not going to end well. It would not.
But I hear you as you speak to the need for consultation. But how do you match that against the narrative that speaks to, the fact that I have been elected the leader and I and my party command the majority of the seats in the House, speaks to the position where I am deemed in that position to speak on behalf of the people and to do things on behalf of the people who sent me there to represent me. And basically, they are in support of what I am seeking to do. And so I can, quote unquote, using the phrase that's generally used, I could ignore the noise of the others who might just be a minority because that's the viewpoint that is being.
You can speak like this when you're in a political environment. This is not political because we're not political. You see, when you're going against the opposition party and you talk like that. But when you're speaking to your owners, the owner of the country, you can't speak like that. Listen, me, civil society generally don't speak. It generally speaks in soft tones and very soft voice. Politicians and government speak loud.
But
When
that is
civil
what
society- Sorry.
that is what you are saying. That this is not political, but from some of what is being peddled in terms of the narrative out there, that is part of how it is being portrayed. Because what you get is, for those who seemingly seek to oppose the project for whatever reason or reasons they may present, you are deemed as a traitor, or you are fighting against progress. You don't want to see the government do what they should be doing to make progress for the country. And so that is a fight. As a matter of fact, you have gotten to the point where some have dubbed a team Jesus versus a team Barabbas. And so, as much as you would want to claim that it shouldn't be political, just based on some of those issues, you see how, as much as you might, as a people might not necessarily want it to be along that line, I shouldn't be. However, the politicians most times always play politics.
Tafari, they've gotten away with this, in these small island states for a long time, intimidating the people. And the people don't know how to hold their democracy, to account. And this is an example of how you hold your democracy to account. Now, it's a learning exercise for many. It's not something we've done for the most part. The premier, what they have to understand in politics and recognize is that they'll stay for 5 years. It's like, for example, we give you the keys to run our house for us. You put up your hand and you say you can do it. We give you the keys. But don't get ahead of yourself. When you're talking about matters, we give you the keys to run our country in the terms of collecting taxes, services, giving us services, make sure the garbage is picked up, make sure the lights are on, the water running, and all that sort of stuff. But when you get to the areas of exigencies where you get beyond the pale, where you're going to a tectonic shift in a country, you can't say you just elected. When people's lives are on the mend, no, not on the mend, but on the edge, and the future is a watershed moment where the future chaotic for people, or history is erased, or we don't. You have to consult. And the way this was done in such a underhanded way, and this has been going on from 2017. Roger Ver bought his first properties in Nevis in 2017. Right, it was his first big purchase, and this has been going on, contemplated. And the man Jensen, you guys who hosted him, said he's been plotting and thinking this through over 10 years. So to bring it to the people and how this broke, and pushing through the SSC and St. Kitts and all this sort of thing, quietly and acquiring land. I mean, I was called since about 2.5, 3 years ago, maybe 2022. We opened when? All right, 2023, November. Yeah, I think it was. No, sorry, 2022, November. The first call. Our family's properties. And by the premier's wife. I was aghast at the call. I was very annoyed. And the second time the call, I asked him, I was very belligerent in my response. Found it affronting. I didn't know anything about Destiny. I didn't know anything what the needs were, but I found it offensive because nobody is indicating an interest in anything. So, but you can't willy-nilly just change the country and say, well, okay, fine, I've been elected, so now what I'm going to do because I'm elected, now I'm going to bring down people from Mars and I'm going to put them amongst you. You understand? And force 5,000 people from Mars. I'll just give you an example. And I'm going to put them, you know nothing about them, right? Give them an enclave. Give them their own laws, and they're going to live here and settle here. And and because you're a premier, or because you've been elected for 4 or 5 a cycle, particular. That is why they give you a cycle. We give you a cycle. We, Civil Society, agreed. And if you go back for the formation of democracies, separation of church and state, that's where it goes back to. We allow you to run the country. Civil society stays back. And it's called a social compact that we have an agreement. But you can't go beyond your bounds. You have to consult the people. They own the country. You can't forget that. But for some reason, politicians got run away in their head around here for some time that they own the country, and they control the largest, they use the largest of the state, the tax base, the taxpayers, the monies that they collect from the civil society to spend. And they use that largest and give it to people and say, you pick winners or losers in society. And one of the things that happens in this country, 50 to 60% of the entire workforce is civil servants. But a lot of them are appointed. Most of them, overwhelming majority of them are appointed. But yet they're scared of their own shadows. They can't do anything. They can't fire you. And you need to understand you own the country. You can do anything. March, you have rights. You cannot fire. What are you going to fire the whole civil service and move them from one place to another? But people forget. They're not thinking. We've been in a state of paralysis, mental paralysis around the people as
Mr. Howard, I want us to go back a little bit. We started talking, and I think maybe because of the fact that, we had the meeting last evening, and the fact that the SSZ and SSZ and the Destiny Project is, the hot and topical issues. I forgot to, and I guess I was reminded by one of the persons who would have commented on the wall, to ask you a little bit more about the civil society itself. Are you open to share and name some of the members of the society, and or so that people can be more informed and could be more active if they're so interested in being a part of it?
If you remember any organization, we're willing to, if you remember any of the organizations or even churches or what have you, you can always, we're welcome. You're welcome in terms of.
Okay, so you can just share some of those organizations. I know you said the Evangelical Association, but you can name some other of the organizations that are part of the civil society. Then, if you put in it that way, so that if persons who are interested, they can then maybe reach out to some one of those organizations and be a part of them.
Let me explain. All of the organizations that has come together with us, from Christian Council members, Evangelical members, leadership, tourism, all of these people come together, the membership, come together with us. They would have known this by our initial contact to all of them, and asking them to come to our meetings. The leadership, that is. And it's not as if we say, well, we want let's say the Christian Council, I'll just give an example. All the membership of the church to come. All the churches, the banded churches that's inside the church. The banded people. You understand? You just lead the leadership. So we don't really take on, because a lot of it is sensitive stuff that we do. It's at a leadership level. It's there are a lot of persons in there. And it's the trust. I guess it's a lot of trust amongst each other. Again, you can recognize how I speak is sensitive. And so a lot of the leadership has stepped up most of these groups. Like I said, they got to the point where the funding mechanism was put in place, to raise funds for this. They had their accounts are established, their foundation accounts are established, and all this sort of. But it moves, like I said, civil society moves very quiet on the stage. It's not politics. It's not government. Speak loud. Our business community is the same thing like civil. They move quiet in society.
Okay.
And that's
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And there's another question here on the wall.
Right. Because of this, the kind of decision making that you're making at the same time, you can't have just, it doesn't work like that.
Okay. There's another question on the wall. Is the Nevis Civil Society considering any boycott option to disrupt the Premier or Prime Minister, NIA, and SKN government apparatus? As in, we're talking about just a couple of days before the signature of this or whatever. Is there any consideration for any boycott option to disrupt the Premier, the Prime Minister, NIA, SKN government apparatus? And if so, well, how do you plan, or do you care to share any plans that you would have already have?
Civil demonstrations, is part of one of the plans that can be employed. I don't want to use the word civil unrest, but demonstrations, of course, is something that civil society can call and is part of the arsenal. Like I said, going to court is part of the arsenal. It's a multiple-pronged approach. Last resort is the streets. Basically, that's what you're asking. But it is, to show protest.
Okay.
If you call, 1 second, if again, you have the power to call people out if necessary because of how the NGOs who they catered, groups they catered.
Okay.
They're responsible for.
Okay. The group, the organization, generally here on Nevis, let me use Nevis because we're speaking specifically to Nevis. Whenever there is any very challenging voices that are not in support with the present government, it is usually always deemed something aligned with the opposition political party. Is there anything going to be done with the civil society to demonstrate or highlight the fact that they are not necessarily supported, but not, you can't say supported, but affiliated directly with any political party?
Yes,
specifically the Nevis Reformation Party, who is the main opposition. And what would you say to critics who may say that this may be just the basis for the development of another party?
Okay, let me take your question front, and it's important to answer the question. One of the main things we had, remember I told you that when we met, we ironed out all our differences and figured out our direction if we can find unification. One of the key things was no politics in the room. We don't discuss no politics. When we meet, there's no discussion, and if it ever comes up, it's shut down 1, 2, 3. We do not discuss politics in any of our meetings. Of the 31st persons who comes to a meeting, that's to a man, everybody understands that as the cornerstone of what. I tell you this, I'll let you in on this. Even the town hall we had last night, there was a suggestion. It was an argument inside of a meeting as to whether the Premier should be asked to talk. And the preponderance, meaning in terms of, it was split pretty much. Not even split, but we said we'll extend an invitation. Like we extended an invitation to him. But if and happily, he did not respond after our conversation. We had a conversation, which the Premier said he would look into it and speak to his people. Right? And I guess the destiny. That the conversation took place maybe Thursday or Friday. It didn't materialize because he didn't get back to us. And if had he gotten back to us, it probably would have never happened anyway, because he would have been late on our program and what we intended to do. But as it relates to politics, we don't encourage politics, and we only wanted the other side, that side, to maybe do a presentation and then out of your question and then out. If that would have happened at all, but we are happy that none of that took place, because our position, we are not with any politics. We are not interested in this juncture, and what we're doing, there's no politics. We have no interest in either side as it relates to the issue of destiny and SSC. There's zero interest in that.
Okay. Now we are going to at this point, before I allow Bankie to probably ask you some questions as well, we are going to allow folks to, if they so desire, they can call in. The numbers are sliding across the screens. 1-869-665-8459, or well, that would be for WhatsApp and or international calls. Bankie is still having a little bit of issues with his WhatsApp and so on, and so his number, direct local line, would be 1-869-662-7196. And those will be the numbers to call in if you have questions that you want to put on the platforms. We would, as much as possible, seek to accommodate the messages and comments that flow in on whether it's the YouTube or the Facebook platform. Mr. Herbert, we see that we have just a couple more weeks before the end of this month, and it means that every day goes ticking by based on what Mr. Yahsonn would have said, and also the Premier would have said that he's minded to do, that every day we are getting closer. Yes, you would have had the town hall meeting or the meeting on Monday evening. What other plans y'all have in terms of activities leading up to the end of this month to sensitize the people, continue as much as possible to educate the masses, because you would only get them to respond the way you would expect them to respond if you're able to capture them with whatever information and get them to rearrange their thoughts, or at least think along that line. What other plans you guys have in the immediate future leading up to the end of the month?
All right. Like I said with the town hall yesterday, before I go that far, on your last reel right before you asked that question, we can't do politics. We lose our moral authority the minute we get into politics. Meaning civil society. You don't do politics. Within civil society, you do God's work. That's how we look at it. You're doing God's work. Politics divides you, and you have to take sides with politics. We can't get involved in that. So I just want to make that clear. Can you hear me?
Yes. We got a caller, so I'm going to allow the caller to present their question or comment. Good evening, caller.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. Bankie and Yahsonn and Mr. Herbert.
Yeah, go ahead, speak up.
Yes, I have a question to Mr. Herbert. Mr. Herbert, I heard you mention something in your open statement saying politicians have only 5 years, and I agree with you. But what should you think Nevision do in a situation where we have a politician keep winning after winning, and we know he cheats? And the way he cheats, the first cheat began by paying voters, and he did this in such a tricky way. Then he stopped paying the voters. Then the voters don't want to vote because they're not getting paid. How would we deal with a situation like that? Thank you. I'll go off the air and listen.
All right, thank you, caller.
Yes.
Listen, I can't. If I'm speaking on behalf of civil society, that's not something I can get into, right? In terms of how do you deal with a politician cheating, I guess the law gonna have to work with that. The law has to work out those things, and the political process you must at least take that sort of grievance in terms of if you feel a man cheat or you feel to the courts, right? So that's not something I can deliberate on in terms of which party wins and all that sort of thing. I don't have that sort of authority. That's for a matter to be adjudicated in the court. Now, I just would urge the parties that are vying for office, politics is a very rough sport. It requires a number of things. Of course, both parties have a base. It requires money, not just money, but it requires a strategy. The other party would have to employ a strategy, and a strategy can go as far as voter, tamping down voters' interests in terms of going out to the polls. But for an opposition party, you need to you need to excite people. So you can't really do voter suppression. The governing side generally do what's called voter suppression, meaning that you retard people from going to the polls, or you disencourage them from going to the polls. You figure out ways to disencourage them, whether it's through your language, sometimes money spent, from what I gather, to create that sort of thing where we have voter suppression. But for an opposition, the opposition has to heighten the voter turnout, excite the voter turnout. So they got to develop their strategies, and there's so many ways you win in politics. It's just not about if you're winning in the polls. Is what happens on the day. Mobilization. How you mobilize the people, but money is the mother's milk of politics. Absent, but one thing to you, messaging is important in politics. And when I say messaging, your message has to pull at the heartstring of people. I mean, it's like, for example, when Obama ran, the numbers he got was unheard of in politics in terms of people coming out. People were crawling out because the message was connecting and people wanted to be a part of history. You as a politician,
Glenn, can you hold a minute? We have a caller here on the line. Caller, good evening.
Yeah, good evening to the panel. Good evening, Mr. Herbert and Yahsonn. Mr. Herbert, I can't understand the fact that you're saying you don't deal with politics in this group that you have, but yet still you said it last night that you invited the premier. Premier is not going to come there and talk civil too, because the way you are talking, it's a politician, and politics must be involved. I like the idea that you invited Chesney Hamilton. You have invited. You don't have to invite the premier. The premier is the one who brings in the destiny on us. He's going to defend that, and he's going to take it from a political standpoint, where he's going to try to make some grounds in politics. So if you don't want to involve politics, you can't involve politicians. And I don't like the idea you're saying no politics. I could understand you're not going to support NRP or CCM, and I understand that. But no politics, you can't bring in politicians. But I just started listening around that part, so I just want to clarify that for me. Better you bring in a businessman. That's how I see. Thank you, Bankie.
All right, thank you, caller.
The idea of bringing the premier, he was not going to be a panelist. We wanted him to make, put forward, his dissertation or whatever the case is. We wanted to hear. It's not in the premier really. We really want to get at the destiny person, to defend the merits of the project. And to defend the merits. Remember, if you recognize, we said the merits and the demerits. The merits and the demerits. We wanted them to defend at least the merits, a Destiny person. Only them can defend the merits of the project. Like they choose to defend it, or they envision how they want to put the project forward. But there was a discussion because it wasn't that a concrete position we took. And I took the initiative and called the premier and said, would you like to make a statement or would you like to send somebody? And I reported it back to my group in the chat. And, there were consternation when I reported it back as to what I did and the initiative I took to do that. Because it was late in the program in the sense that the event was coming on by Monday. So had he responded, let's say Saturday or Sunday, it would have been a bit late in terms of how we programmed. We had the event action, but we still extended it. I just wanted to be on the record that we didn't ignore him, And then there was the idea that we also reached out to the opposition party too, not just the premier. When I made that call, I made it to two persons. I made it to the opposition party, and I made it to the premier. But if one didn't come, we didn't want. If one was going to make a statement, we wanted the other one to make a statement. That would have been fine with us. So we informed the opposition, well, we haven't heard anything, so nothing is going to happen on that front. That's the truth.
All right, Bankie, anything that you want to ask Mr. Herbert while he's here?
Yes, well, we are back at the town hall. Let me say congratulations to having that setting. I think it was appropriate. And let me say, I guess some thought had went into it by analyzing how everything went down with the panel. You have someone like Danny Atherton, who is an economist, well-known, worked toward the civil service as a farmer technician, an agronomist also. Then you had Chesley Hamilton, which is a well-renowned law, counselor, and contracting within the region and also in Canada. And then you had someone that I don't know, and that I met for the first time while being there, Glenn Griffin, which is a doctor, a psychologist, which in one of my key point when it comes to looking at the destiny and this SSZ and all this craziness is that the psychological part, and I keep talking about it, down the road, future 100 years from now, 200, even if I'm not here, my children and children, which we are just continuation of each other. I understand that. So either way, how this goes, as I mentioned, it's going to have a serious impact on us as a native people. We are divided right now, and I tell the premier this on my show. When he was here, the people we have become now the Hutsi and the Tutsi. We have been separated. We are now being called and separated between Barabbas and Jesus, and the premier have been praised to be the modern day Jesus. This is how serious this gets, because you see, I get along with all sides, with everyone, whether it's CCM, and I'm telling you, this have become non-political. They are founding people within CCM, families that don't agree with this thing here. There are people who vote for Alexis Jeffers, people who support all the brand and all these different people within the government, and they don't support it. There are people within the civil service who are very in different position, all sort of position, but they are threatened. And even though they're civil servant, they can't afford them, but people love the position, and they don't want to move because they're comfortable. And people don't want to be victimized. Because when you victimize people and move people, you're playing psychology and emotion. You're hurting their feelings because we working in an environment for over decades, and you move them because they speak and a view, and you're against it, and that is sad. So I want to, because my last youth is 5 years old, and sometimes I just meditating, trying to see the things that I do. We go all different places on the beach, on the farm, just to everyone Nevis, and my next youth is like 15, so they can see. And my youth I don't discuss politics with my youth. I let them be with children. You see what I mean? Every household is different. Yeah. My children don't listen to my show when we're talking. My wife may do, but my children don't. It's a part of this. I have a call here coming in. Let me take this call. Caller, good evening.
Good evening again, Bankie. And Bankie,
yes.
to Glenn and to the listeners
Yes.
I don't really like to talk things because, but anyway, I really want to say this. Bankie, I am not for the destiny. And there is something that I think the general public is missing.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the premier is saying we're going to have 7 to 10,000 people, I know it will be more. All right? But the point is, it may not happen this year, next year, in the next 2 years, it may not happen in the next 5 years. It may not even happen in our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
But what we have to understand, Bankie, our forefathers thought that we got this land now. When the British left us, they left us to rot. And we stop here and we mold ourselves and mold our land and get our land. We're not we, but them, for us. And I am saying, it is only fear, Bankie, that we as the people do that for our children and grandchildren yet unborn. Because if we don't do that, we are going to suffer. Bankie, listen, there's a place in America, Glenn might know this. I can't remember exactly when it just come to mind. And black people used to ask white people to go on the beach. And it's this white black man just went and marked this beach front, bought this thing, and got white people, and anybody could go. Right now, I think it was 20, so just recently, they have a cycling group that could go there and have the on the beach, and they try to get it back the same way. They try to get, because let me tell you, Bankie, it's only a step in the door they want to. And once they get their destiny there, they come in from Mount Pleasant, they come in from the penny thing up there, they come in for the 88, and they come in for everything, and they go surplus. And we're going to be doomed. Maybe not me, maybe not you, but our children. So this is why we got to protect it from. She brought it on there and gone. And in the to the car because it brought out the estate for us. We got to protect that. And before, no, let me go to Carl Manners made a point last night. And he's saying, they're saying the land is no use and it was there for hundreds of years. And Carl made a point and said, but that is the same land I use to send my children to school. And I go there with my grandfather as a child. And he was able to get children now, use the same land and send the children to school. So don't you think the grandchildren use the same land to send their children to school? I said no to destiny and not to SSC. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Let me continue with the Carla touch on a few points there, and then I'll come up. But the Dr. Griffin, right? He was very on point. He put a lot of thought into his presentation. Well, all the presenters really put a lot of depth into their presentation. It was well thought through, well researched, and it was not just as a common spoke off the top of their head. A lot of put into this because this is something which gonna affect. This is not gonna affect. This is not gonna stop. Even if it don't happen, you're gonna have the division is already been divided, where both sides gonna be looked as the evil one. But the psychologist Dr. Griffin, he went back to what the Belgium them did in the Congos in Africa from in the 1800s to 1908, with a chopped off our people's hand, worked them in the rubber industry for nothing, just like enslavement.
Bankie.
Yes.
That was.
I'm coming there. I'm coming there. Yes, let me finish up. I'm coming there because what he was saying is just like in England, there are families who still benefit from the back of our ancestors. So the Belgium, you understand, economy, he benefited off of it directly and indirectly, either way. You see what I mean? These are just the reality. For generations, will continue to benefit off of these things, but we are very forgetful. I should not be having this conversation here, my virgin, about what our people gonna just. The gentleman was here, interviewed the gentleman. He said, "I'm the only person who reached out to him. He no other ones." He said that. I was blown away when I spoke to them and they tell me, "Well, Bankie, Well, how you get with number and all the different stuff? I mean, that minor matters, but they were glad that I reached out to them because no one has reached out to them. With all these media houses and something of this important, why? I don't deal with assumption. So we brought him here, and when I go back when they say Carbo, when I look on Carbo name, he just said that 10. People keep saying 10 and 7,000. The gentleman say is not 10,000 libertarian, it's 10,000 families. Let me keep saying what the man say. The man said 10,000 families. A family could be 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, or whatever amount. Or what the man say. So me no want 7 and 10,000. The man be specific about what his plan is to do. He say he been around here for all these years, watching what's going on, and what I've realized when I'm speaking about this, the Nevis that I speak to, and the common sense person, if something don't smell right, it don't taste right, and it start off wrong, they don't want to hear nothing about it. They don't, it's distrust. Just like here, Pastor, Reverend Bonnie, is liable or whatever say, Byron, Reverend Byron said, once you go and lie to me, I see something is wrong, I can't trust you. And that's it. And this is how sensitive this is. We're talking about, we are only 8,000 natives here. So how can one of us, of the native, a few of them of the natives, 11 of them in parliament, go make such a decision where they think, when they keep, I have friends who live in Bermuda, and they say, Virgin, Bermuda got over 1 million scooters. You want to go have one car per household, or one for business, and the local and the tourists them can't rent a car. They have to rent something like a golf cart and those kind of things. They even say we don't need no more hotel here. So they different mixed feeling within the community of Nevis. There are some who even don't want one more hotel here. I want them to premier understand that, and that's the people of Nevis are comfortable in a sense where some would say, well, next hotel are 2. Some say we don't want no more. You see, because we already see what's going on the road, but then this is happening too fast. Even I expect these things. I am not surprised by these things because we hear talking about these things all the time. So I understand the mind frame of greed. And when you have politicians and businessmen who are all about greed and all about a dollar, well, that's their thing, Me not an issue with a man thing, But when they're going to impact me and then affect me, youth and them, plus a girl children me have, I don't know who around here amongst me, youth and them, and the people within the community. You see what I mean? And we want to bring in more. I don't know the colors, which areas. I mean, this is, why can't we have a duty-free, cut off all these high duties on our people, just like St. Martin, but no, we give others, quickly get others tax-free and duty-free. I keep saying we're supposed to pay no VAT. I keep saying it, and see the canning us and give people duty-free and all this different stuff and VAT and not pay the tax. So how can one give the rich who have millions and billions these incentives, and the poor man who need these incentives, you not give them? You see? Right in front of your face, and we praise these things. I have an issue with these things. I have an issue with this thing because when I asked the premier said they realized there's 200 and something acres of land that is within an area that is don't have titles or whatever, and I asked him about this land, and he gonna tell me he gonna trade or sell some to these people. So me ask, well, what about expansion of the neighborhoods around then? And I mean, the Minister of Agriculture is in charge of land. Well, you need expansion to expand the Hanley's Road and all the neighboring villages and stuff. We're not. Dr. Knifos, Professor Knifos here from the University of the West Indies, he speak on these things. The expansion, he speak and said, this is a Israel. This is a Israel. Same thing. This is nothing new. This is a Israel. But yet some will tell you, boy, me not say not one thing wrong with this thing, yeah. Oh, really? Okay. Well, let me say this, I don't need the $30 in my account, or the $100 bonus. I'm fine with that because I never get on the Boost wallet anything from my own government, so I don't need nobody to put no $30 in my account. Now extra $100, it's okay. I will survive. Me and farmer. The $30 now do not me extra. Give it to somebody who need it, because 30 numbers is very important, Because this biblical story spoke about 30 pieces of whatever with betrayal.
Yeah.
So everything, nothing is coincidental, Destiny is not coincidental, And the psychologists also speak, and this same thing we're talking about, words, the meaning, your emotions. And this is how I look. That's just when I go to places, I sit at the front of the class. I want to be focused. I watch how you speak. I read everything about you because I know you're talking crap. And that's why I teach my girls and them analyze people. We are in a bad place. You see what I mean? But I just want to give kudos to the panel last night, and also good kudos to you as the host, and also not forgetting the young Dr. Nisbet. It's important to give people the accolade and do a very good cheering and stuff like that, because it's not easy, you understand, to stand in front of a crowd of your own. And the next thing, was appropriate. It did not need any political party there. Let me put that clear. Just how the panel was, because having political people there would have more tension, and that was not the place for tension. There was a place people can express their feelings and speak and be themselves and not going back and forth, because that was not that part already went already. And so this one was just for the people to come out, and so that was well done and was perfect. Something like that in the future, you don't need to invite the premier non-political parties. You really don't need that, because we already know what is the way forward and why that meeting was called. It's probably the civil society to come together without non-political parties. So kudos for that, and that was fine for me. Yahsonn?
Okay.
It is just, it is just, I would agree with you, Bankie, in terms of the panel. Like I said, I came a bit late, so I did not see because I didn't see I heard a bit of Danny's presentation and a bit of the lawyer from Chesley Hamilton from St. Kitts, his presentation, and the others following that. Like I said, from what I gathered, I love what I heard, and I love that it was not seen or deemed, like I said, any political, it was just like Bankie mentioned, people just able to express themselves, share their views, share their opinions. I think it is timely. I think we do need to have much more of those sort of discussions as we go forward to the end of the month. Whether it is a group that is, whether it's a discussion that is organized by the Nevis Civil Society or any other similar group that is deemed non-political, so to speak. And I'm saying this, not that I have anything with any, political party or anything like that, but just because of the fact that I think that an issue like this should not be deemed or seen political, and that it is only the opposition, party that may be pushing it, so that it has that feeling that it is, it's a political agenda because it's only those who supporting that side is pushing it, and so on. And so that is one of the reasons why I'm looking for more of that seemingly non-politically motivated and non-biased slant, but just people of all life that's want to address the issue. Bankie, yes.
Yeah, let me. Mr. Hamilton also, he keep repeating and saying the algorithm is like they were running to see what would happen. He putting this in a from a political perspective at the same time when it come to Nevis having 5 seats, to see what will take when it come to moving to move up from 3 seats in Nevis, where you'll get 1/3. So it's like, you see, over the years, I analyze and realize the Premier keep comparing Nevis that the next 20,000 to Bermuda and to other places and St. Martin, and the size, and they break it down to per square mile and all these different things and all these different whatever. And in Nevis, it might all be at 30-something people per square mile. All these different kind of things, 100 people compared to 10,000 and that kind of things, which we're in a business, because I don't see what they're trying to do. Because by bringing these things, you're going to inflate the cost of everything, especially land. Because I have people coming from St. Martin and check on my farm every time who leave St. Martin and telling me, and they have businesses, A small 3,000 square feet of land in St. Martin is almost $1 million. The locals, the natives cannot buy land. You see, these are the reality. Even in St. Bart's, you see, and these are people from different places who moved to St. Martin. So what happened to you? And this,
we call that development. You know, I mean, we like
no, that is not the development. That is who have the highest bidder. Because when your own gun can't buy their own land, that don't make no sense. You see what I mean? Because you're changing the whole, and that is why I glad last night there was a psychologist, a doctor, a part of the presentation where he can speak how we're going to impact the whole, and where he put it, where the name of Nevis is going to change. Nevis nice. The new word is in front is F, and at the end is ED, and I get exactly what he's saying, because that's exactly what our people doing to us. You see what I mean? At the time, even go to the part where he spoke about, you understand? Other part again when it comes to feces. Because
we're like lambs going.
Yes, go ahead, Glenn.
We're like lambs going to the slaughter, and and at least goats would make noise, but we're like lambs, you know. And go back to what you started saying, Bankie. You know, you talked about back when in Belgium in 1884. After what is called when they had the conference, when they broke up Africa and they shared it among the Europeans in the Berlin Conference in 1884. Yes. It was hosted by Leopold of Belgium. He's the one who had the Greater Congo, the entire Congo, and the atrocities of the Congo he spoke of last night, and the chopping off of black people's hands just to send message to the wider black population. You know what I mean? That we have authority. And I don't know if you know this. Up until 1960, early 60s, they used to have zoos in Belgium with black people. Zoos. People come and look at them in Belgium.
Yeah, but in the United States, it's the same. You can't go on the same bus with the whites and the whites only place. So the same thing. We're in America experiencing the same thing. You see what I mean? They can't go in the restaurant. They can't go in the same bathrooms.
In the Bronx Zoo, up until 1908, I think, they were parading slaves in zoos. Not slaves, black folks in zoos. Just like you come and look at the monkey, you come and look at the whatever animals. They literally did this. And this is only a couple of years ago.
Exactly.
And I said 1960s in Belgium. So,
yes,
I mean, people don't change. And this guy, Yahsonn, I mean, if you've been reading him and you've been reading his writings, it's scary. And
but this is not just... You see, you might have people like Yahsonn who is being open and not hidden. But then you have people living here amongst us, but you don't know from South Africa, not different places, and grew up and been around the apartheid system and all something, and from different places around the world. You understand? And have their ways. Because people travel, their ways don't travel with them, you know. It's just like I was speaking to a virgin of mine, and he was talking about what happened to the spill off. What happened to the spill off with all these millionaires who is coming. And you hear Mr. Yahsonn speaking about security. When we hear we're saying, and then he say, our security will be better than your security. So we say, oh, here are militia then. Here are snipers then. You understand? So,
Bankie,
the reason why I said this, yes.
He said we have high crime. And our last murder, when I last checked, was over a year ago. So I kept wondering, what is it guy talking about? You know,
because he want to have his own security.
Right. These guys are the beneficiaries, Yahsonn, of the horrific treatment of the people who ran these camps in Belgium. These are the beneficiaries of these people. Everything that they have, they become the direct descendants and beneficiaries. Nowadays, what they call it, what do they call it again? There's a term thrown around loosely that privilege, white privilege. They're the beneficiaries of white privilege, white colonialistic privilege, and they carry the same sort of thinking. You don't change.
But I wonder if the people of St. Kitts understand when Mr. Douglas also said the White Gates community or whatever it is, area is also going to be a special zone. Or what if they know that if Nevis want to bring over 50,000 people, I have a call here coming in, gentlemen. Call, good evening. No problem, that's fine.
Okay, good, Mr.
Yes.
Glad is on the program, and Glad is a member of Carbos, and I really got to call it.
Yes.
Bankie, as a last man, I could tell you this. Everything that happened to us 100 years ago, everything bad that happened to us 100 years ago and more, by black, by us, are happening to us again today, by us.
Of course.
That happened to us 100 years and more, happened to us again today.
Cabo, the psychologist said nothing ever changed. Slavery never ended. The gentleman spoke on these things. That's what is important. I'm going to have him on this show once everything finalized. But so what you're saying is facts. Nothing changed.
Nothing changed.
Yes.
I mean, when you look at it, I think I heard Glenn say earlier on that you elect these people, put them in power, and all of a sudden they believe they own you. You only give them that right. The power of the people is greater than the power of the politicians. And the people don't realize when they get in, we say the government. When we say we are the government, yeah, and we say we employ them. That's not true. We doesn't employ them. We vote for them. We elect them. They employ us. The government employs people because the government is the people that employ people. And we give them the managerialship to deal with us. And look how they deal with us. Look how they deal with us, Bankie.
Terrible.
I mean, come on. You're going to tell me you're going to pick Bankie. And you made the point right now. The brother said it's a family. And you're right.
Yes.
I'm passionate about small business, my country, and agriculture. That's some here.
Yes.
But you're going to tell me, Bankie, that the 100,000 family, 1,000 families could be
10,000 families. 10,000. Yeah, I want to get it right. 10,000.
Bankie, put the phone closer to the microphone. Put the phone closer to the microphone.
5 by 10, 50, more than the population of St. Kitts. And they're growing. I mean, what I'm saying here, Bankie, and let me tell you, what I'm saying here, how you want 30,000 people reaching at the country in a one corner of the country. And the Bible was right last night. Me not gonna to protect me. They could come by me, but we can't go by them. And I'm not emphasizing on the fact that me can't go over there, we can't be one by a beer. Because when Four Seasons came to Nevis, a beer uptown was $2. And a beer in Four Seasons was for $8. That's $20. So when we want to go to the farm, we don't go in the farm. You understand? But I'm saying, as a people, if we can communicate as one and live in one under one law, we're in trouble. And these people are what you call libertarians. And they right not to believe in law because the kind of law that the governors, they right not to believe in them. But it's our law. And the Bible says, respect the law of the land. So they have their land to get their own land. It's prohibited. Thank you.
Thanks. Yahsonn, one of the things also Mr. Griffin spoke about, Professor Griffin, doctor, is that there are two different types of libertarians. He break it down. There are those, you understand, who don't believe in governments and all this different stuff and wherever, and you know what I mean? But then there are those who more article, more, they want everything, they don't want to hear nothing but nothing. And this is how I bring, yeah. You see? So it's fathom me, right? That how some of our wisest and brilliant minds come together and say they love their people so much and put the people in this position. I went to some of the best schools. So it shows me brightness have nothing to do with common sense. That's and true, making the right decision for your people. That's because true. Right now, these gentlemen who make these decisions from this in the Virgin. They cannot come back from this. They have to
Yes.
dig their own hole.
Well,
They don't have
Bankie,
to ask for forgiveness from the people. My best thing for them to ask forgiveness for the people. We have dropped the ball on this one. We think we're doing the best decision, whatever it is, but we're gonna go through it together. It might cost the country, whatever it is, but it's the right thing to do. It's okay to say we make a mistake in the Virgin. Nothing is wrong with that. But don't be arrogant and say you're not gonna repeal. Where you're gonna cost the taxpayers where you don't not got no money and you're gonna want to go through a lawsuit. You go hire QC and after the taxpayers for the wrong that you do. Will this make any sense? Well, this don't make no sense to me. I mean, if these guys don't want to live in Nevis and St. Kitts, they can exile, you know. Here are a lot of places they can go. They're going to stay here. Let us who here
but
who want to be
Bankie,
here stay here. Yes, Yahsonn.
Bankie. See, I sometimes, as I analyze these things and as I see these things pop up in front of us, right? I tend to go back a little bit further. A lot of the times when we do have these discussions, I could recall sometimes it was only, so to speak, the Rastafari brethren and sisters who would be talking these kind of things, and they would say, "Oh, but you're always coming with these back to Africa thing, and now you're always talking about, the colonialists and colonizers and all that." No, we have always been against that system, and we are at a point where, Banky, see where our reality is. We have inherited a system that was never designed for us. We have inherited a system that is a system that belongs to the colonizers, and that system has been maintained by people who look like us. And that is the reasons why some of these people find it so easy to do these things, because they themselves have been seeking to deceive us for a number of years, and we have been gullible. I mean, this land issue, as a matter of fact, when we look at where we are coming from, where land is concerned, Banky, look how much we had to struggle to get a piece of land. We're still in 2025 talking about crown lands. We have elected officials who are seeking to uphold these lands and still even labeling our people as squatters, when everybody should have gotten
Yahsonn.
a piece of land. Everybody should have
The,
gotten at least even 1 acre land
the,
for what the people
the,
should have. No, hold on, Banky, because here is it. We have a situation where these same people who we elect to be in that position to defend that land which we fought so hard for are seeking to sell it out and then tell us when we want land that, well, for housing, we're going to have to reduce, the lands that you get. We could only give you a 2,000 square foot, and while they're looking to sell out the lands and telling us that it's not just 2,400 acres, you can get, there's no cap on the amount of lands that you can buy, and seemingly there's no cap on the amount of people that you can bring in either. Because, so when we look at these things, these are just like, for me, a continuation of some things that have been perpetuated over the years that we as a people have allowed to continue, because some of us are part of the scheme to maintain the status quo, because the status quo benefits them and their cronies, and they have no desire to really look after the people. I mean, another example, the Buckley's uprising, as my brethren refer to. Look how long that happened. We know why that happened. But up to now, is there any efforts really being made to say, like, hey, let's cage this land for these people and what they went through, and, put up whatever? That is not in their best interest. They have not even made any effort to say the next step to becoming independent is becoming a republic. We not hear, well, one time we hear the Prime Minister say that he's going to make that happen before his term ends. But we have never heard any discussion from that, and no efforts being made to say, well, by these people, we really serious about, taking our own country into our own hands. And I don't even want to talk about destiny because I don't want to use the word control our own future. So these are some of the things, and I guess when we have these kind of discussions and these things pop up, it should put these things into perspective, and as a people, cause us to think more broadly and not just where we are, but some of the things that we really need to do as we go for. I kind of got a bit distracted because there's a call coming in.
You have a call?
Yes.
You have a call? Okay.
Yes.
After
Good
the
evening,
call.
caller.
Yes, good evening, man. How you guys doing tonight?
We're doing pretty good. Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Great conversation like usual, man. Good evening to the guy down. Me personally, man, is real disappointed to see what's going on in our small twin island state of St. Kitts and Nevis. It's starting to gain international recognition. This Destiny project proposed to come to Nevis is now being talked about in some tabloids in the UK. This is definitely, gain a lot of recognition. It's appalling to me to see that this is the blueprint that these guys are going to try to use through the Caribbean region, and it's real disappointing to see that it started in Nevis, the smallest nation in the Western Hemisphere. And our politicians, man, they keep taking us for fools, bro, and the people is real divided, man, and a lot of people is on the party line. All them stalwarts Labour supporters down there in St. Kitts, man, they need to come up off of that Labour party line, SHIT, excuse my language. This stuff is outrageous, man. And I'm gonna say this tonight, man. The ink is not dry yet, and the people needs to mobilize nationally. Man, if you guys don't mobilize nationally, this thing is gonna go into effect. But if we mobilize nationally, we can stop them. You just mentioned the Buckley's uprising, bro. Man, this thing is almost to the level to have an uprise. We need to uprise against these bald heads. Sorry to say that shit tonight, man. I hear that Roger Field might have been to the Federation. Was there Roger Field cycling in the Federation over the weekend? This man might be down there in a big yacht. Now. I'm waiting for confirmation from the ground. And, we know who this guy is, man. This guy settled a tax obligation with the United States. And now he's probably able to move now. He was overseas, I think, in Spain. And he was going to be extradited to the United States to face some charges. But I understand that he now has settled with the IRS in the USA. So now he's probably free to move. But it's appalling, man, to see that these Caucasians is the one that's going to take over our country. That East Coast contract with the East Coast housing scheme in St. Kitts that was signed with the government, and the government seems like they breached that contract. I'm going to say it loud and clear tonight, man. Let them mess with destiny and breach contracts with destiny. You're going to see how these guys take over all of Nevis. Because the negotiations are weak. Look at the government liability as opposed to the liability of destiny, of either one defaulting. You know what I mean? That is such of a wide gap. And the premier said that no repeal is going to definitely cost the government, a future government, a shitload of money if they ever think about repealing that law after they sign that Destiny contract and that deal. What I'm going to say, man, the Destiny deal, there is no ink on that paper yet. The people still have a chance to stop them. And the only way to stop them is to hit the streets. And if you guys don't mobilize and hit the street and unite, And this stuff is going to go through. It's the only way to stop them is to hit the streets in numbers. DJ Morris said we're going to have another rally in Sinkers, I think, this Friday. And we need to support and link up. Man, I wish the people of Sinkers and Nevis the best, but one thing I do, man, once them up put their signatures on top of this deal and this contract, yo, it's all over for Sinkers and Nevis. Yo, you guys have a good night, man. Thanks.
Thank you, Carla.
All right. Yahsonn,
Bankie, one of the things, like I was saying, right, and as I listen to the caller,
I was gonna say, let me say this,
wait,
Yahsonn,
one second, Bankie. Let me finish off. I just want to finish off where it was, because the caller kind of fit into what I'm thinking and what I want to end with, right? Here is my problem. I don't as much have a problem with Mr. Yahsonn and others who may see the opportunities to come and do these things, you know. The problem I have is that it's people who look like me and you and grow up amongst me and you who are willing and ever so willing to just give up like that. And as a result of, in a lot of cases, their failure to do what we have hired them to do. Because to reach to the point where they have to get creative to say that they're trying to find a way to get revenue in the country, because they have failed at almost every other attempt to do just that. We came out of an agrarian culture where we were sending sugar and all the raw materials over to Europe for them to make value-added crops to send it back to us, value-added products to send it back to us. We went into tourism. We went into offshore banking. We went into CBI. And they have demonstrated through all of these things that they have failed to do what we have hired them to do. And so, like a person now who have failed and all other options now decide to sell out the land. Because from what I see and what I know, the last thing anybody would seek to do is to sell out the land. If you find yourself broke at this point, the last thing you would look to sell is your land. You will sell your car, you will sell, your furniture, you will sell your bed. So I think that the Bankie, this is what I'm going to end with. We need to, as a people, begin to look at these people the way we should be looking at them and dealing with them accordingly. This ain't a time for no parties and politics. This ain't a time for no, sorry for no. No, because our future is at stake. Me and your children and me and your grandchildren is at stake. With this destiny thing here and this SSZ thing here. If this government signs on, let's say, for example, that they do sign on to this thing. There's an election supposed to be in the next year and a half. If, for example, this government is not successful at the polls and the next government goes in, have a problem with what is there and decide, well, we are going to repeal this and we are going to change this. Are we going to find ourselves in that situation similarly to Honduras? Are we not looking at the examples that are in front of our faces? Are our elected officials not reading some of these same things that we are saying that we're reading about what was proposed by these guys, even though they claim that they were younger when they wrote these things, were they 6-7 years ago? I mean, so like I said, for me, it's not so much even these guys. It's our elected officials, those who we trust to guide us and lead us in the right direction, who are seeking to make these decisions. And even though many of us are not just the average me and you, Bankie, talking, you have professional people like Mr. Herbert and other lawyers and QCs and all, Evangelical Association, all of these other organizations that are part of the Nevis Civil Society, who are speaking out. And these guys seemingly just want to continue to perpetuate this thing that is going to put us in a position where we are having problems. So, Bankie, sorry about having to rattle up, but I just felt like I needed to just end that point.
But all what you said, the people them know these things, Yahsonn, but you're repeating it. But not like we don't understand that and we know that. The people, the leaders that think we stupid and we don't, but we know these things. We are going to the same school, Virgin. We are going to the same place. So we are the same genetics.
We know it. If,
But
if
then
you're
no,
saying that they know that we know it,
but
they
you
know it
all are,
too.
but you all
They can't be
docile.
they
That's our
know.
problem. You all are
It can't be
docile,
they know,
Yahsonn.
and they're moving the
Then
way they're
no, but
moving.
you are docile people. If you are docile, you're gonna accept it, Bridget. We're talking about you're fearful. You'll be manipulated easily. That's what I love Nevis. It is not coincidental. Okay, I was going to say, and then I'll let Mr. Herbert talk when I don't make 2 point. All right. I was in Barnesgott Saturday, checking out a vibe to deal with a little plumbing issue. I decided to go to my usual spot, get some my garlic bread, which not garlic bread, my canned bread from the cherry tree from Waiter, because as a young boy, my grandmother every Sunday used to go to Waiter and get she make sure my grandmother gets she garlic, she canned bread, still up to the same standard, beautiful. So big up the baker, which is Neville, big up the cherry tree bar there. Well, I went there, went into some people from Gingerland there, and they said, "Boy, I'm glad you come because we have someone here doing a survey," and they just did the survey. So I said, "Okay, no problem." So I asked, by speaking to the gentleman and who in his company, he said doing a survey, and asked him about what. He said about the Destiny project going on in Nevis. I said, "Okay, fine. So, what's your name?" And because I explained myself to him that who I am, and I do a podcast, and I would meant to talk about the same poll that he's doing. So he said no problem. So he hesitated to give me his name, and hesitated to tell me who tell him to do the poll. Why him? So he told me his name is Adrian Hamilton, Hendrickson, something like that. But I know Hamilton is one. He also told me Dwyer Astafan hire him. He also said the government hire him. So which government? Because it's a federal government and they are local Nevis government. He said the Nevis government. Me say, okay. So the Nevis government hire Astafan. So I want to call up Mr. Astafan I stand to be corrected to let me know if the Nevis government hire you to do a poll Saturday, because Wednesday the premier was on his show, for his final show, and he never mentioned there's a poll. He should, if that was the case, mine. Me to the man say no. So if me wrong from the man, and you tell him to come and say this thing, yeah, because I have to come to the people. Yours. If this was the case, it's alleged that the government here in Nevis doing a poll, and I just want to do a poll, and I need too much to pay an Astafan too, if that's the truth. Okay? Well, why you couldn't say, well, to my people, the government is doing a poll, and I would like you all to take part in the poll and give your honest opinion. It is 6 questions. 1, how do you feel about the Destiny project? Do you ever hear about the Destiny project? Do you trust the developer? And yeah, them are some of the questions them. All right. I also asked him, how big is the sample size? He said between 1,000 to 2,000. So I said, well, they need more people then. So the US people them, which means there are people all around Nevis that is hired to do this thing. And it's from Sinkit, the person is hired from, to come over to Nevis. James said, well, I'm getting paid. So the issue, Yahsonn, is not with Mr. Johnson. The issue is with our constitution, my brethren. When you're going to have, because the native and you who have a passport by citizen investment or one who come married to a citizen cannot have the same right as a native to buy unlimited amount of land, my brethren. The whole something is wrong with the constitution there to tell me, because you come from wherever and you got some money and you buy a piece of land and you got a passport and you're a citizen, you got the same right as me who's a native. When you don't go to no struggle, to them go. None. And that is not an issue for these people who we have. Yahsonn, this is the problem, is the constitution. That is the problem.
What do you say when your elected officials go into parliament and seek to make special laws and go into the constitution to ensure that they can make provisions for things like these to happen?
Well, because that have been compromised, Yahsonn. You hear a gentleman on his radio show said, my family, this and that say, this is the holy grail. The Monday chop will be finished. The hospital will be finished. Roads will be done. Carbo will get all his goat water sell and all his fish water sell. Yes, you don't have enough food and your farm cannot buy you out. Not even one thing is bad with this project. Really? Virgin, The chambers of commerce are complaining. There's fighting within the bar association. I have friends who is in the bar association. There's big division inside there. Fighting, cussing. I don't tell the premier here. He have caused division amongst the people. They're writing for Dr. Joe and his cabinet, all of these members who agree to this thing here. I talk to Zook. I tell Zook about this. They know they have made a mistake, my virgin. They know that. That's what they do in a poll. The people of Nevis do not want not even 2,000 people come here in the next 2,000 years. We don't need that. Let our own people who owe this so, let my children, when she done your children, let them come back and pack up Nevis. And that's what we want. We don't want nobody. That's the problem. So we need to change these things if we are serious. That's the problem.
Bankie, the premier said that the people who you are talking to ain't the same people he talking to. Because the people who you're talking to say they can't wait for the project to start because they want jobs. They got trucks sitting down. They got backhoe sitting down. So
yeah, so
you and the premier
I talk to people about truck and backhoe too. I speak to people about truck and backhoe. They say, Virgin, I understand you want to get work. When the work don't do, and you don't get your money, and you have 50,000 people, 100,000 people, whatever number of the people, anything over 30,000 people, then what happen? When you left out your yard and you can't get down to Value Mart and got to deal with all the different changes in laws and all this different stuff with the amount of cars, or they're not gonna care, they not want no car. Okay. Or they not want no car, so they're not gonna drive. You got to do with everything, the implication of everything, my virgin. You understand? You see how St. Kitts look? You see how Nevis look? St. Martin, go St. Martin, and hear how traffic look down there so. Me had the man just come up from St. Martin, go play them master of the cricket. The man say you can walk and pass the traffic, go you're going. So these are the things you got to psychologically deal with. So it's not like I don't know, living in large cities and with millions of people. So the premier talking to the ego and convincing those around him, nobody buying this. This don't hold water. This basket, water run out straight. Water not stay in the basket here. It not go work. And they know that.
If you are correct with that story in terms of the poll, I guess then he has come around to realize that there is a need for a poll.
If me correct, me tell me the poll with some other people.
No. What I mean, correct with the fact that they are the ones who paid for it.
There's a poll going on, and if anybody else who done the poll in Nevis, they can call in and say yes, they did the poll. That is, if you're listening and they did the poll anywhere around the island, it will be good that others can call in and say yes, they did the poll and get some feedback. Yes.
Well, remember that was one of the things that we called for or we asked for when he was well. I remember asking for that because I remember asking for a poll to be done because he kept saying, I remember in the town hall meeting when somebody said that majority of the people, he kept trying to correct people and say, well, don't say the majority. Speak for yourself or speak for, whatever, because he's speaking to people and the people who he's speaking to are for the project. And I guess he would be saying that he has a lot of people who he's talking to. But in terms of really getting a true, better idea of what the majority of the population is saying, a census, a poll, a referendum, whatever it is necessary to be able to give that sort of feedback. So go ahead, Glenn.
Well, the poll was necessary. The poll was really necessary. Bankie has some information I may not know. But what I know, that a poll was commissioned, yes. And it was discussed. Civil Society did not commission the poll, but it was brought to us and for discussion in our last meeting. And because it's in the media now, but one person had decided to pay for half of the poll, the costs, and whether or not we would co-own the poll with the other person. Person who commissioned the poll. So someone had stepped up and said they'll pay for half the poll. Once we established what it costs, that person had wrote a check for that, with half of that particular poll. What happened? We never got to a conclusion by the time the poll because we never met again. But the poll was concluded within the last 24 hours. And what happened is that they had 450. Well, it was supposed to be, from what I know, it was 500 residents. But I got the report today, it's 450 persons they used. And it was supposed to be in all five constituencies in Nevis. The numbers that came back, the returns was like 69 or somewhere around there, 70% are not in favor. The breakout was not as if you had not in favor, against, not in favor, and those who are for, 3 sections. So you didn't get the breakout in terms of the overall number who is not in favor. What you had is that maybe average of maybe 69% said then they're not in favor. They're against. They're against. The other percentage who may be on the fence and not sure needed more information did not come. I didn't see that come out in the metadata report from what I saw and heard today. But it was done by from what I know and what we know, it was done by an individual who had asked us to co-sponsor the poll. And the poll, of course, bolsters the court case. The numbers, particularly if they're in favor, they show, a strong favorability against. Meaning, if you're absent of a referendum, lawyers walking, it helps, to put forward in front of the court. This is these are things that makes their case stronger. That the people are not for it and they were bypassed and all this other. You understand? Not enough that consultation and all that. So that is what I know. But I want to go back quickly to having all the people they decided here.
One second, Glenn. Before you do that, there's a call on the line, and so I want to be able to give them an opportunity to make their contribution, and then so hold your point, please. Don't forget where you are, your train of thought. But caller, good evening. Speak up as loud as you can, and we're gonna give you at least a minute to make your presentation.
Thank you for allowing me, Yahsonn. Good night, Mr. Herbert. Good night, Bankie, and Yahsonn again. This is the voice of Winston. Welcome. I stand behind my commentary. Mr. Herbert, I am so glad that the Nevis Civil Society is another opponent to this critical nonsense that is going on in Nevis. It doesn't make sense for divisions. And Bankie speak the words that I always like to speak. Bankie, I support what you said if there was 101%. We don't need, we do not cater for those people who don't look like us. Sorry to be racial, if that might be the situation. We've been living for hundreds of years in our country, and we still continue to live. We don't need those dirty money. We don't need a colonist again, colonialism again. Let us stay how we are, and this is not we are against investment. This is not that we are against anything that will benefit the country. But this kind of path that our leaders who were elected, we only elect them to run the country. We don't elect them to sell out the country. And to tell you the truth, I am one of the blood that will run if this were to happen. We cannot allow this. And as I said before on our early talk show, the Nivisions and the Kittitians, this is our Christmas and this is our carnival. When people tend to get drunk, we have to be vigilant. We have to be like the eagles of the sky. Trail these leaders. And if we have to boycott on the day of signing in, they better change their ways and their mind. Because we are not interested in being sorry like the backside when this situation happened. They can't sell us out. We can't allow them to sell us out. Instead, we deal with them in short order. Thank you for allowing me. Our land is for us, for our generation to come, and our generation to come moving forward. No. Our fathers who fought and was beaten and slaved. We must not allow this to happen again? Hell no. Thank you for allowing me. I hope I'm under a minute. Bye for now, Yahsonn.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much.
I bless you well.
Thank you very much, caller.
Yes, sir.
Glenn, just before you pop in, I wanted to highlight the fact that we do have a poll that is being done here on Real Entertainment Network. We would have started a poll, I think, a couple of weeks ago. For those who may be interested in responding to the poll, I think our technical team would have put the link for the poll in one of the chats here. I'm not sure if it is on the YouTube platform or on the Facebook platform, but you can always look for the Real Entertainment Network poll and add your position, whether you're for the SSZ and the Destiny or you're against it. Because we
the link is up.
The
link is up, Yahsonn.
well.
The link is on the screen. I will put up the link.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure if it's the Facebook or the YouTube that it was placed on, but I know that it is on. Continue now, Mr. Herbert. Sorry, with your comment.
On the heels of what people are concerned, and Yahsonn said it earlier, what's next? And, why demonstrations around here fail in terms of the streets or whatever you call that, is because people, when you call for a demonstration, a mass demonstration, it has, historically speaking, civil society has to pretty much pull it off. Why? Because that's where the people are, the congregation is. That's where you tell the people to come out. You call the people out. You understand? So you ask about the next step. I can't get into all of that stuff. We'll see where we land when we get closer. All right? But I would say to you that the leaders from church to other organizations are totally sympathetic, empathetic, and totally in sync with what we're thinking. That's all I'll say. The next thing is the zone, for example. If people go out there in the zone, it's easy way for folks, rich people, to tell you they don't want you. Very easy. They don't have to tell you it. They build their homes. They have their fences. They may have a gate like Four Seasons, or even if they don't have a gate and you can drive in there, remember they have security driving around neighborhoods. Very high fences. You're going to feel uncomfortable. You're not going to want to go. It's like going into a store and let's say you're going into a Gucci store. I like using this little example. You're going to a Gucci store, one of these high-end stores. You only have $300 in your pocket, $250 in your pocket. And you start, everybody, the store attendants, stands up there and they're looking at you. They're looking at everybody in the store. But you think every one of them are looking at you. You feel uncomfortable. Because you within your psyche know you're not, you don't have the means to be in there and to purchase anything. But if I turn around and I give that same young lady $10,000 to walk in the store, put it in her pocket, she walks in and she looks every one of them in the eyes with her shoulders up. If you go into that zone, they'll make you feel uncomfortable. You can't buy in there. You can't afford it. First of all, the money that they spend on the citizenship, which is $325,000 that they're saying for citizenship, then they got to buy, they got to build a home. These are multi-million-dollar homes. Or even their condos, they're going to be $1 million, multi-million-dollar places. They're going to make you feel uncomfortable. You're not going to want to go there. There's certain neighborhoods in Nevis. I'm sure people in Nevis don't even want to go or drive through or walk through already.
But Glenn,
think about it.
Glenn, let's just say Mr. Johnson said the project is a HOA project. Let me see what the man say. The man says a homeowners association. Or what the man say. Let me speak what the man said. The purpose of bringing the man here is to just say what the man say. Is a housing community. That's what the man say. Along with trying to find some other one or two hotel to fit in. Say, okay.
An HOA is an exclusive gated community. Can be that. All it is, it means that
exactly.
Yes.
You can't change the house's color when you want. You can't. Your grass can't grow above 6 inches. Otherwise they rate you up, and you understand. You're crazy. If you wash your car in the driveway, they come with a ticket and rules.
No, you get
Yahsonn can't come in there because he can't sleep there. Yahsonn can't come by me go sleep by me. I spend a weekend by me kind of call in the night or something. I got to ask permission. Want to know rules. Yahsonn, you laugh. I know about those places. Trust me.
Can I say something to you guys? I always say to people, the World Trade Center went down in 24 years ago. It's like yesterday to me. I remember it. So don't think that this can't happen in 20 years. This is right here on our doorstep. Right. That's nothing. You know?
All right. You know, guys, gentlemen, I must say, right, it's really interesting, and I'm sure that folks out there are very much intrigued because I guess based on some of the comments that I'm seeing on the wall and the people responding and so on, I know that people are taking in the information that are being shared. However, it seems as though we are so engaged in the topic that we haven't realized that we have gone through 2 hours and 15 minutes already. So we have even gone over time without even recognizing that, we have. What I want to do at this point is, Mr. Herbert, seemingly we would want to invite you back. I guess at some point, I don't know if you would be willing to come back and give us updates on, what is going on with the Nevis Civil Society, and also if there are any other events that you guys may have planned, and or if the government do sign on by the end of the month, and things heat up, and we would want you back, that you'll be willing to come back. At the same time, I want you to, in your closing, make a pitch for the civil society, some of the things that you guys are planning to do, and or what I guess people can look forward to next. They would have seen the efforts being made with the meeting that you had last night, and not just having a meeting, but you went to the extreme of seeking to have it streamed on multiple platforms and in multiple countries, so that other people out there can be aware of the issues and engage in the issues. What next from you and your civil society, the Nevis Civil Society, and anything that you would want to share with the public in closing?
So what's next is we're going into preliminary stage. I would imagine sometime this week. We haven't decided yet. A communication going to go out, I think maybe by tomorrow. We'll take a postmortem on what took place on Monday evening. And then we'll begin to plot the way forward. Of course, we know we'll have to consult the attorneys, get a read as to what's going on with that, and where there's, what their plans are. That's them. They're directing the ship. They're the experts in that sort of thing. We will have our continued discussions as it relates to there's fundraisers, and we'll begin to look at wait for some sort of signs from government as to what they're doing next as it relates to getting this thing signed, or if there is any movement on that. We'll monitor that, because of course the court case is an interdict, meaning it may act as an interdiction, trying to, there's a block then, trying to block it. And of course, if it's signed and it's revealed that it's signed, then this takes a different course. This will take at that point. You can use the imagination and go forward.
Quite interesting that we have to be going through this for something that is supposed to be the best thing for the people, I mean, to try to get information. I don't quite understand the need for all this secrecy about buying up the land, secrecy about, the project, secrecy about, putting this thing into law, secrecy about all these things, and leaving us, the masses, to speculate. And I guess that is why, out of the speculations, now there is concrete efforts being made to try to, not get to the bottom, but get to, find out all of what was going on. Bankie, as we're about to close up, any of your final, thoughts and closing statements?
Yes, I want to just say thanks to the listening and viewing public who consistently choose listen to Real Entertainment Network and the topics and all the other shows, Medicine for the People and everything agriculture. I also want to say kudos to the coalition of NGOs for pulling off this town hall meeting last night. Want to say big up to the host, Glenn, also to Dr. Nisbet and the panel, Chesley Hamilton, Danny Atherton, and also Mr. Glenn Griffin. Well thought panel, all these three professionals are top at the game. You understand? So he's full of experience and well thought through. So kudos to you guys. Well thought through. So definitely this Friday coming up we'll have Sankoff will be our guest, where he was one of the delegation with the federal government went over to Nigeria. So he'll be speaking about that along with agriculture and cannabis and stuff like that. Next week, Tuesday, we'll have a guest. And then the last Friday in this month and the last Tuesday in this month, we want to have a viewers appreciation show where we can reflect and you can call in and which was your favorite show you enjoy, and we can go back review some of the shows that we did and thank the participant like Glenn and all those who chose to come. When I asked them to be a guest, you understand, Carl, we can't do this show without our guests. Is very important. We can just be here speaking amongst ourselves and don't have guests at all, but by having guests and engaging different topics, this is what makes our show different. So I don't know why they don't tell me no, the masses, but I appreciate it that they feel welcome, that they're in good company. They'll be treated fairly, and it's important that we treat our guests respectfully, and you understand, and that is very important to me, and to make them comfortable. So, and thanks to the viewing audience also who make our guests comfortable as much as possible. So, nothing name hard questions and tough questions. I don't see it like that. If you want to represent the people and speak to the people, you should be able to come forward, and any question should be asked, but is respectfully you answer the question, because that's what it's all about. Also want to say I was in Barnes, got this Saturday evening or Friday evening, I think it was Saturday, where they had the lighting of the Christmas tree and stuff like that. And I was, let me big up Lataya Jones. I got a big she up. Yeah, because she's very much in tune in the community, and the other representative them should make it visible to go to these functions. And I was disappointed that I didn't see the representative there at the Barnesgate Community Center. When Barnesgate and Canton Ground and this community center having this event, they are so close knit. They're supposed to support the people in the community. Those communities are supposed to support each other event, especially in this time, in these times. And I'm not seeing that at a level like that. And I was very disappointed. So it's not just one representative. All should make time, because if you show your face and go back, it make a difference. So I'm very disappointed. So, and I've realized also there's a big division going on in Canton Ground, because remember me alone, and people are going to talk. So it's like Canton Ground got 2 Christmas tree lighting or whatever it is, and that is not good when people are divided within the community. As representative within the community, we are going to see things different on both heads. When it comes to you got a partner. You got a partner. And see beyond egos. You see what I mean? I work with all kind of people and they got egos. Once me work together, me talk to you, you have to talk to me, When we don't do it, when you turn on past, you go your business. I don't business. You got to be professional. You got to partner and make something grand than make it two. Because in it two, you split the people. You divide in families. When you want to say you're bringing families together. Some people are difficult to work with. I can understand that. I work with all kind of people. Who is difficult. But then I'm in a business, let me get the work done. That's it. So what I see going on in Canton Ground, I ain't like it. You know what I mean? Why is going on in Barnesgate? The representative not there, I ain't like it neither. And Latoya, I hope you go to all the Christmas tree lighting in Canton Ground when they happen, and the one also in Jessup. The reason I'm saying this, the function that it goes to, that young lady always present. And you gotta get jacket. When there's fish pot making, she'll show up. She'll get involved, she'll hold the player, she's real. That is what it is. And if someone is doing right, I gonna call it out. So the rest of them need to pull up the socks. You understand? As someone want to see things go. The division thing, me not in it. I'm not in the division thing. I don't like to see people divided. If you're gonna come to the people, come differently and sincerely, because from the moment you start to divide these people, they're not going to come back together. It's just a grudge they're going to hold against each other. They have to see each other every day. They got to see each other every day. So, Yahsonn, that is my talk. Glenn, thanks again for coming on the show. Greatly appreciate you taking the time for the invitation and stuff like that, and commit to your word. You're a man of your word, and I greatly respect for that. So, thanks again, and thanks for listening and viewing audience. We couldn't be doing this show without you, and all those who are in the background, also all the technicians and stuff like that. We appreciate all that. And let me say, Yahsonn, Shabazara next right now having cucumber, bell peppers, green banana, plantain. The sorrel, have some melons to harvest from next week. Also some tomatoes and seasoned pepper and stuff like that. You're going to get sugar cane, star fruits. Just visit the farm, pomegranate, and you can harvest what you want, and then you pay and stuff like that. I'll just come out and see how the farm set up. And also on Fridays and from Thursdays and Saturdays, you can get your cook-up and different food choices. On Friday and Saturday, you get your fish water, cornmeal and fish and all the different stuff. So, Shabazar Organics, Advances Last Stop. Big up Amanis, big up Aisha, big up Tasha. And you don't know. Thanks for all those who come out and support on a daily basis. Greatly appreciated to keep my Uncle Mansa going on that. Remember, all I do is farming, so it's appreciated. So if you all love these shows, come and support Mansa's Last Stop. Me working away about farming, I'll me do a farm. You understand? I'll me do a farm. So I plant food, and you all come buy the food and them. That I'll me do farming. Otherwise, me not got the money. And anything I might get thrown to the host. So there can be plant food, and then I come buy up the food and them. So give thanks for the support and appreciate that. Yes, son.
All right, people. Just want to remind you, tomorrow we've got another edition of Medicine for the People with Dr. Charles McWilliams and the good folks at Jade Health Clinic there at Newcastle, and also they have an office in Miami. We want to encourage folks to look on the YouTube platform and look for the poll that is being done by Real Entertainment Network and subscribe to the poll. I don't know if you, Glenn Herbert, would have seen the poll, but maybe you could give your feedback and check it out and respond to it. We are asking a small favor. We're not asking for money, but if you can like the video and subscribe to the video and click on the notification bell on our YouTube platform, that small free act means a lot to us here on Real Entertainment Network. So thank you very much in advance for going over and subscribe to the YouTube platform and click on the notification bell. We will be with you tomorrow with another edition of Medicine for the People. And like Bankie would have said, on Friday, we have another edition of Everything Agriculture, Sankofa, and the Gideon Force and all that good stuff happening. And so we want to encourage you to subscribe so that every time we have a program, you will be notified. And Glenn, I know that, it was a sort of last minute, but we actually are grateful that you would have taken up the invitation and you would have been here with us. And we look forward to having you with us, sometime in the not too distant future. Real Entertainment Network, thanks for the efforts and all the people behind the scenes doing the works and making the magic happen. We want to thank you guys. See you guys tomorrow for another edition of Medicine for the People.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
Girl, you left my stomach in a knot. Took my lighter and you burned the bridge. Thought you was a writer. No, you just an idol. You got me feeling like Big Sean in this 5, 4, 3, 2. I deserve a minute. Wait a minute. Gotta get up and over. Regain my composure. No longer my lover. Finally finished and you did it. Girl, you really showed me. Think with your heart, don't think with your body. Clever. Sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not Justin Timberlake. Write me a river. Lately, I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody to talk to. I be having conversations with myself, cause I feel like I have nobody tried to convince me it was all in my head. And I